My name is Liana Cross, and I've learned that time doesn't heal everything. It just gives you the composure to face it without flinching. The dining room was buzzing with laughter when I walked in, a late arrival to my sister's anniversary dinner. Every seat was filled except one directly opposite hers. She leaned back in her chair, wine glass tilted in her hand, eyes glinting with the same smugness I remembered from the day she took my fiancé. "You made it," she said, her smile razor-sharp. "Alone, I see." I didn't answer. My coat slid from my shoulders into the waiting hands of the maitre d', and I took my seat with measured calm. Around us, forks clinked, and someone made a joke about déjà vu. The truth was, I'd prepared for this night for months, not to humiliate her, not even to prove I'd moved on, but to close a chapter that had festered in silence for years. Then the door behind me opened. A ripple went through the room. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, crossed the polished floor. My sister's eyes darted past me. Her smirk faltered, and before I even turned, I knew she'd recognized the man who had just walked in. My husband. The room seemed to shrink the moment Nathan's shadow stretched across the table. He was a tall man, the kind whose presence commanded attention without trying. His suit was tailored in a way that whispered authority more than it shouted it. The overhead light caught the edge of his cufflinks, silver, understated, the kind that didn't need to announce their worth. I didn't have to turn to feel the shift. Conversations faltered. The soft clink of cutlery paused midair. My sister Laya set her wineglass down, the base clicking against the table a fraction too hard. Her husband Dean looked between us, with the faint puzzled frown of someone who just realized they'd walked into the middle of a story without knowing the first chapter. Nathan's hand came to rest on my shoulder, a light but steady touch. He leaned down, his voice a low murmur pitched just enough for Laya to catch. "Traffic was worse than I thought," he said. I tilted my head up to him unhurried. "You made it," I replied, letting a small, measured smile touch my lips. Laya's expression tightened, barely a second's worth of tension, but enough. She'd always been composed, a master of social facades. Years ago, she'd been the one with a man beside her, basking in the validation of being chosen, her confidence swelling with every approving glance. Tonight, that balance had shifted, and she didn't yet know how to carry it. Nathan slid into the empty seat beside me. The conversation, which had evaporated upon his arrival, restarted in awkward fragments. The weather, someone's new car, a recent trip to Napa. Yet, every word was threaded with an unspoken curiosity about the man at my side. I let them wonder. It was strange sitting here in the same restaurant where Laya had once toasted her engagement to the man who was supposed to be mine. I remembered that night too well, the golden glow of the candles, the taste of champagne that soured in my mouth the moment I noticed her hand slip under the table to clasp his. People laughed, clapped, raised their glasses, oblivious to the fact that my world had just been dismantled. Tonight, the air felt different. No betrayal here, only control.
Mine.
Nathan's hand brushed over mine on the table, his touch grounding. The gold band on my finger caught the light, subtle but unmistakable. Laya's gaze dropped to it, then flicked back up to my face. Her lips parted slightly, as if to speak, then closed again. Dean, still unaware of the undercurrent, leaned forward. "So, Nathan, what do you do?" Nathan's answer was simple. "Consulting." Nothing more. No titles, no explanations, just enough to keep the mystery intact. I knew his work couldn't be easily explained over dinner without drawing too much attention, and for now, I preferred Laya stay in the dark. The waiter appeared with menus, offering a welcome pause. I ordered with quiet precision, Nathan following without hesitation. Laya hesitated, her eyes scanning the page, though I knew she'd memorized it years ago. It was a small thing but telling, her first real sign of uncertainty. When the waiter left, Nathan leaned toward me. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded. "Perfectly." My gaze stayed fixed on Laya as I said it. She gave a quick, brittle laugh for the table to hear. "Well, this is unexpected," she said, swirling the wine in her glass. "How so?" I asked, my tone almost curious. Her eyes darted between us. I just didn't think we'd all be here like this. Oh, I said lightly, lifting my water glass. Life's full of surprises. The words hung in the air for a moment. I watched her fingers tighten slightly around the stem of her glass. Years ago, I'd been the one holding my breath in her presence, searching for some anchor in a room where everyone else was on her side. Tonight, she was the one searching for footing. The night moved forward. Awkward small talk, forced laughter, but underneath it all, I kept cataloging every flicker of discomfort on her face. Her facade was slipping. And then, when the moment was right, I reached into my clutch. The metallic click of the clasp opening drew her gaze. From it, I pulled a simple velvet box, no bigger than my palm. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The sight alone was enough to drain the remaining color from her face. Her husband noticed immediately. "What's that?" he asked. "An old piece," I said smoothly. "From years ago. It never fit me back then. But it fits perfectly now." He reached for it, curiosity overcoming his manners. When he opened it, his fingers froze. Inside lay the engagement ring that had once been his wife's trophy, the very symbol of her victory over me. Except now it gleamed on a bed of white satin, perfectly polished, a silent testament to the fact that some things, like truth, could be reclaimed. His eyes darted to her. "You told me you pawned this years ago." Laya's lips parted, but no words came. A flush climbed her neck. I leaned back, my smile faint but steady. "No, she didn't pawn it. She lost it." The weight of the room shifted. Conversations at the other end of the table slowed, then stopped entirely. People were listening now, whether they meant to or not. Laya's voice finally broke the silence. "Liana, this isn't the place." "Exactly." I cut in, my tone cool. "This isn't the place for lies." Her husband set the ring down with deliberate care, as though it might burn him. He didn't look at her again. Across the table, my husband rested his hand lightly on mine, not to restrain, but to anchor. His presence was a steady current under my composure, the unspoken reminder that I wasn't here to humiliate for sport. I was here to end a story she'd kept alive for too long. After a long pause, I stood. Every chair seemed to shift with me. I placed the ring back in the box, snapped it shut, and slipped it into my clutch once more. "Dinner was lovely," I said to no one in particular. "But I think we're done here." And just like that, the room exhaled. Except for Laya. She sat rigid, eyes fixed on her untouched plate, her carefully curated evening in ruins. The night air outside was crisp, sharp enough to cut through the remnants of tension clinging to me. Nathan's hand slipped into mine as we walked toward the car, his thumb brushing over my knuckles, a small grounding gesture that said more than any words. Through the tall dining room windows, I could still see the table. Laya hadn't moved. Her husband was speaking to someone at the far end, deliberately avoiding her gaze. Whatever facade she'd built had cracked in front of the very audience she craved. I didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. This wasn't about winning. It was about closing the book she'd kept open all these years, a book filled with half-truths and stolen moments she wore like a crown. For years, I'd thought confronting her would be loud, messy, and fueled by anger. But standing there in the quiet aftermath, I realized something. True closure isn't a victory march. It's the calm that comes when you no longer need anyone to believe your side of the story. I had nothing left to prove. Not to her, not to the family that once turned their faces away. The people who mattered already knew the truth. As the car pulled away, I let out a slow breath. Laya could keep whatever stories she wanted. I had my own life now, built on trust, on love, and on the kind of dignity no one could ever steal again. And that was worth far more than any ring.